Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of BiblioTech on Air, BiblioTech's official podcast. I'm Louie.
I'm Ruby.
And I'm Romeo.
And today we're going to be discussing our Libros and Libations pick, Blue Light Hours by Bruna Dantas Lobato. And yeah, I think Romeo's going to be leading our discussion. So
Absolutely. I hope you guys are ready. I have quite a bit of questions here. Considering how short the novel was, 200 pages, audio was like 6 hours. I mean, I feel like I generated a decent amount of questions. I think you generated a good discussion.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start off with the very first question. So the novel centers on physical and emotional distance. How does separation shape both the daughter's and mother's identities over time?
So just for context, in case people aren't familiar with the book is a very kind of short telling of the kind of interactions between a mother and daughter. They both originally lived in Brazil together, but then the daughter moves off to go to college in Vermont.
Correct.
And kind of their relationship as the daughter is kind of figuring out her life, like away from her mother, and the very like brief windows where they get to like visit each other via Skype and get to like talk with one another. And I think that obviously it takes a toll on both of them. Like they start to feel a bit more lonely. They kind of like the daughter fluctuates between like, oh, like I really miss my mom and stuff like that, but also being like, I'm discovering so many new things and I really, really miss home, but I also, I have a future here, and like imagining that. And then the mom is kind of like an empty nester, and she's just kind of sat with the loneliness that comes from that sort of isolation, especially whenever she grows to be sick kind of in the middle of the book and doesn't have much to do but sit at home and hope that her daughter's going to call, But yeah, I think that it really does impact the way that they kind of like the way that their dynamic sort of shifts over the book, but they still have so much like love for one another, and that kind of keeps them strong. And I like their dynamic a lot. It's very sweet and it's very down to earth.
I do like their dynamic a lot too. It seems almost like at times that them being far apart brought them closer at times. I like the instances where the daughter was like, have a drink with me, mom, like over Skype, even though she's not 21 either. Yeah. And it's like in those moments, like I don't see that. I don't know if that would have happened like in real life, but that happened like over Skype because they just felt, or the daughter felt comfortable enough to open up that part of her life with her mom.
Yeah.
So I liked like those instances like that.
Yeah, I agree. There was definitely a lot of growth in the novel from both characters, which y'all mentioned before we started. They don't actually give either character any names. It's mother and daughter. So I hadn't really thought about that. But yeah, there's certainly growth. There's loneliness. There's a lot of emotions involved. The daughter's obviously experiencing her time in college, loving her experience in the United States and learning, but also there's some loneliness there too, right? She talks about just kind of sitting in certain areas in the, I guess is it the library?
Yeah.
She talks about certain corners and eating certain foods while her friends are out there doing whatever. And her mom's back at home too, experiencing the illness she's experiencing, some loneliness. The father's not in the picture. They talk about that a few times. So you can see some growth over time, but I also think it does highlight what loneliness is and how it can be different for certain people and how they experience it. So it was pretty good.
Yeah. I did love the scene where they were like having a drink together, but more so like I really loved the because this book came out in 2024. It came out in Brazil in 2024.
Correct.
It got its translation kind of soon after.
Correct.
I remember during the pandemic, I was an essential worker, so there wasn't like a lot of stuff that I was doing online except for school. But I remember like I have very cherished memories of like cooking with my friends. My friend taught me how to make like a few different like dishes over like FaceTime or something like that. Yeah. And it was a really nice way to kind of like bridge that gap. And in the book, she asks for her grandmother's like chicken soup recipe.
Chicken soup.
And like there's something so like sentimental about the fact that she kind of like props up the laptop and like she helps her like guide through cooking and like shows her like to make sure she's going along well. And I thought that was so sweet. And then with them eventually reuniting at the end and like cooking that together, I thought that was just very, very sweet and sentimental.
Really quick about that. So think about the visual that she provided. Chicken soup. As an American reader, that's a very homey type of soup. Very soothing, very cold day. You're inside, you're with your family enjoying a nice bowl of chicken soup or something. She could have chosen a Latin dish, anything else. And it's just like chicken soup. It's to me, it was very solid choice for an American reader to be like, man, like I get that.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you can relate to it. So
I didn't even realize that, but yeah, you're right.
I wonder if that was like a translation thing.
it could have been. Maybe the original dish in the book was something else, but for the American audience, chicken soup made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what does the book suggest about the idea of home? Is it a place, a person, or something else?
I feel like it has so many different definitions. Like, it can be a place for sure. Like the daughter feels a lot more at home in like the place that she's staying in for summer housing than her dorm previously, because she just gets to feel like she's like a part of this home, and she gets to like have her own space and kind of realize like what that having that own space kind of like means to her, and like what it means to wake up in that space. But also, like, no matter where she is, whether it's her dorm or like elsewhere, her sense of home, especially connecting with her mom back in Brazil, is just kind of like, they have this really funny description in there where she refers to her laptop that she Skypes her mom with as the mom aquarium.
Oh yeah.
And that, I mean, that's what it can feel like, certainly, where it's just like like for better or for worse, it's like that's where that person is. And I do think that home can also be defined as like a person or like a relationship, especially like a familial one, if it's like like a strong bond. I think that this book really highlights like a lot of different forms of home.
I agree.
It truly is like what you make of it. Like I was pretty surprised how the daughter in the beginning was calling her life there here in America home. Like I was like, for me, when I remember moving to my dorm, I'd never called it home. I was just like, yeah, I'm back at the dorm.
My dorm,
I'm back in the dorm. But like the daughter was real quick and was just like, oh yeah, I'm home, mom. And I don't know, I just thought that was really interesting.
But I think that's a testament to the daughter's character too. Like me, I'm very reclusive. I don't make friends easily. So like I wouldn't thrive well in a situation like that. She seemed to be a little bit more outgoing, somebody who's willing to just accept, this is my situation. I chose this. I'm here, and I'm going to make the best of it. So, I think like you're right. Home had a lot of different meanings in this book. It was certainly finding home in the mom, and that feeling of being connected to home through the screen. Hence the blue light hours, right? Just different ways of finding home and what that means to each of them. It was pretty unique. I think the author did something really clever there. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so how do cultural differences complicate the daughter's sense of belonging? Does she ever fully belong anywhere?
I mean, I think that this book also kind of tackles the sort of struggles and loneliness of international students. Just kind of that feeling of moving away from your home and being so far away, and like not getting to be with people who watched you grow up, not being able to be like that, connect with your roots, and bringing, like in America, like the whole thing is that like, oh yeah, we're a melting pot, all that, getting to like bring that sense of home with you and trying to like hold on to that. But also, there is like a strong, especially in college in general, like there's a strong sense of like finding your identity, finding ways to fit in, like finding your niche basically. And it's made all the harder by like, people, there's like several instances where it's mentioned like, oh, people are like listening to some of the international students talk and being like, oh, I can't understand your accent, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they have to like practice a little bit the way that they're speaking, and just it begins to sound kind of like not off-putting, but like whenever a few words of English like slip into the daughter's like when she's talking to her mom's like, it sounds so weird to hear her like that, like it's not bad necessarily, and I'm like the mom starts like trying to learn like a bit of English, but like there is a sense of just like cultural disconnect, and like both trying to hold on to home but also like the daughter trying to find her place.
Yeah.
That's something that always boggles my mind, like especially when I look at my parents and I'm like my dad came from Mexico and all his family was still back there. I'm like, how do you like live with that? I could not. I can't imagine myself being that strong to like move from my family completely and just try to make something of like myself somewhere else, because I'm like, my mom, my parents have been married for like over, I don't know, probably 30 years. And there's like siblings that my dad has that my mom still hasn't met.
Wow.
Because they're still in Mexico.
In Mexico?
Yeah. And I'm like, man, that's just so wild to me to think. Like, how do you, I don't know, like seeing my dad like calling this place his home and being established here, I'm like, there's still home back there too. I don't know. It's something I can never wrap my mind around.
Yeah, the difficulties of picking up your life and just, because you want a better life or whatever it is, and you just go and you're there now, and it's like you have to make the best of it, right? What was brought up yesterday too at the book club, which was an interesting perspective, is they talked about in the book how she kind of befriended or flocked toward the other international students, and some of the other readers felt like maybe why didn't they share that she had the American experience with some American students? And I said, well, because these individuals probably understood their plight better, right? They've walked in their shoes, whether they had more money or not. They're also from different countries, so it just seemed a little more natural that way, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter like what countries they were all from. It was just like they did like flock together because they all had that shared experience of like, no matter where we're from, we're all away from home, and like all of us are away from family, like for better or for worse. All of us are just like here trying to make it, and like I think it's like perfectly natural that they kind of like wanted to gel together and stick together.
I mean, she mentions that. I think she mentions in the book when her and her friend were talking, when they were talking to one of their other like mutual friends or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, did he share with you his vacation plans or his summer plans?"
Oh yeah,
how it's just like so elaborate. Like they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna travel to this city. I'm gonna travel to over here. I'm gonna visit my family for a little bit, you know."
Yeah,
and it's like she was just kind of like, "Oh my god," like
and. Go ahead.
How do you relate to something like that, you know? So why would you talk to them?
And there is such a difference of like income and like like class as well. Like this is not to say like for every student, but like, like a lot of the American students who were at the college were talking about like, oh, we're going to go this place, we're going to go this place, I'm going to do my internship over here.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the daughter's just like, I can't even afford to go visit my mom back in Brazil. And like a lot of the international students are kind of in a similar plight where it's like, oh, like my parents might not even like be able to show up to my graduation, or because there's that kind of disconnect financially as well, like for means of like being able to revisit family, there's a disconnect between like peers who have family in America or even in the same state, even the same city, versus the daughter who is so disconnected from her mom, like distance wise, and has no way of bridging that for 5 whole years, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a good segue. So we're talking about the experience that they're having. So how does the novel challenge or reinforce your assumptions about the immigrant experience?
I mean, I think that it's very, like, there is that kind of like general, like the melting pot or like the like land of opportunity thing when it comes to America. And I honestly was very, like, I liked how many like references to like different things. And like, when the mom comes to visit, like later on, and her kind of like looking at the 2 like taps on the faucet and like not really knowing like exactly what's going on.
Sure.
And then the daughter has a moment of realizing like, oh, when my mom was coming over, I had this whole thing planned where I was going to show her so many like American things. And like I was going to really impress her because I wanted like to show her that like I'm doing well, and like this is like this is a place of like so many opportunities for me, and like these are all things that she doesn't have back in Brazil. And like my coffee is better, and instead of the coffee that that we used to drink back home. And then she kind of has to stop herself and be like, why am I greeting my mom with like a sense of like superiority that I'm here? And she kind of like has to reflect on like, oh, being here has changed me a little bit.
It has.
And like she backs off from that, and she's like, instead of going out to a dinner reservation, they make the grandmother's soup. And like she's like, yeah, Mom, actually your coffee is way better. You're better. Right, and she like means it as well. And I think that it's just, I really liked that particular moment because it was just like yes, she's here, and yes, she's experiencing like a lot of new things, and she's living her life, but like that doesn't mean that it's any more like superior to like back home,
Correct.
Yeah, you're right.
I know. Yeah, last night Ruby and I were talking about the coffee a little bit because Ruby made a good point too. Is like she didn't put a thought into her mind about the American coffee she was having. In her mind, it was like maybe what she was supposed to do there, but it was good in her mind. But the minute her mom brought it up, it almost like changed her perception of what coffee is or was. So was the coffee really bad, or she was just more like, you know, I don't know, maybe appeasing her mom a little bit. I don't know what your thoughts are on
maybe
that.
she was just like, the coffee here is better. Look at my like $3,000 Nespresso machine.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's gotta be better than.
I mean, we do live in a very like, not to soapbox or anything, but we do live in a very like capitalistic society that just kind of is a lot of like cultural importance on like, oh, like make sure that you're getting like the good stuff, you know? And like we can get coffee from so many different places, because I think hers was like from Colombia.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh yeah, you can like have that import in, you can like, you know, just we have so much at our fingertips, and like look how like it does feel very much like our culture is built around like the mark of success is the expense or the quality of the things that you own and stuff like that, instead of like, what do you like?
Yeah.
Like what brings you a sense of peace? What brings you a sense of like home, you know? And especially like with that cultural divide and the way that she had to be separated from like her mom and from Brazil for so long. Like, I think it's lovely that she kind of like gets that realization later. Yeah.
Pro tip: don't ever go to Italy and ask for oat milk or nut milk. They'll just be like,
they're
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, you
You're out of
Americans.
here. Get out of here.
So, okay, so how does the power dynamic between mother and daughter shift throughout the novel? Who mothers who? So this was interesting. A lot of people, we talked about how some of the readers felt like the mother maybe was kind of guilting the daughter into like, you know, having these conversations with her, making her feel bad for like enjoying herself. But I think some of us had a different take on that. The mother was lonely. She was experiencing her first time without her daughter. So who mothers who is a question of like, there were times where the daughter was kind of looking after the mom and like making sure she was okay. So it just kind of brought up some interesting conversation about that question. So
I honestly thought the way that this novel approached that sort of concept was beautiful, just because like the mother at some point does say like, whenever her mom, the daughter's grandmother, whenever her mom was going through like aging and dementia and stuff like that, the mother has like some fondness to the fact that like she was able to take care of her mom the way that her mom used to take care of her.
yeah.
And by the end of the novel, the daughter makes like special note of being like, oh, my mom is here in my apartment and she's sleeping right there and she looks like frail and small, and I'm like about to like wake her up, and like I've made her breakfast, and she kind of like has this moment of like, I get to care for my mom in that way. And I never felt it was like a manipulative thing. Like, sure, to like certain extents, like we want to make sure that parent is being parent, we want to make sure the child is being child, and they're taking care of each other in that way. But like, I think there's also like an act of honoring someone who has raised you and someone who has like been so close to you in that way, to be able to take care of them regardless of like what the dynamic used to be. Like, of course there is balance, but like she hadn't seen her in 5 years, and she probably felt like, to the extent where she had to kind of like reel back the superiority complex a little bit, that she didn't know that she had to be like, oh, my mom is here. She is my guest.
Yeah.
And like, I get to care for her after so long of not seeing her. So I don't really know, like, it's like, yes, there's kind of like a guilting sort of thing, but like no more than you would someone like you miss.
Yeah.
Deeply.
I think the guilt was just more coming from the daughter. Like, I think everyone was misinterpreting that and thinking that the mom was like putting this guilt for the daughter to feel. And I feel like that was just going to come naturally. Like the mom seemed pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Like pretty encouraging for her to leave home, to go to America and to stay there. Like, she just wanted to know her day. She wanted to know what she was doing. I don't think the mom explicitly was like, you know, you're gonna have to come back home and like take care of me. She never explicitly said anything like that. I just feel like the daughter is gonna feel guilty no matter what. Like, if the mom was even more encouraging, maybe even trying to hide the loneliness that she was feeling, I feel like the daughter was gonna feel that like no matter what.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no taking that. Like, you're living out your life, you're having fun, and in the back of your mind, your mom is like by herself.
Yeah.
She's getting older, she's getting sick. You love her, you care for her. You're gonna feel some type of way always.
Yeah.
I think there were some personal feelings and biases that came out. I think also what was mentioned was that a lot of what happens I mean, it's a lot of cultures, but in particular, the people that were there was like, well, in the Latin culture, you're like almost expected to do these things. And if you have siblings, typically one or two take care of those things while the other siblings are kind of free of it and stuff. So it just brought up the interesting conversation about that. But yeah, I also agree with you guys. I didn't think that there was any intentional guilt tripping on the mom's part. You know, she missed her daughter. Her husband wasn't in the picture. They talked about her going on a date with an individual, but he made some weird comments about, you know, just very inappropriate, very weird. And you know, ultimately to me, because I love my son so much, it just made me feel like the love for her daughter just really came out. That's what I saw and what I read. So.
Like, I feel like no matter what she did, like the daughter's going to feel that. Like me personally, like I know when I went out to college, my mom tried to hide a lot of things from me, but I'm like, I end up finding out anyways from other family members and everything. So I'm like, I know you want to hide these things from me. So that way I can be over there like guilt-free, worry-free. Sure. But I'm like, that's still not going to happen because I know what's going on, you know, I'm still going to feel that. Like you can't take that from me. I'm always going to have that guilt and that worry.
Yeah. And there's also something to be said with the fact that like they kind of develop a bit of a friendship because there is that, you know, whenever you are an adult and you're figuring out your own life, if you are able to connect with your parents in that way and like kind of get to know them more as people as opposed to like a parental figure, it seems like that's kind of what the daughter was trying to do, especially the night where they were like drinking together and they were talking. Like she was just like, yeah, it's almost as though we're like old friends as opposed to mother and daughter, and like they get to learn more about one another. And like you can say what you want about like whether or not it was guilt trippy for the mother to bring up like, man, I wish I still had a mother to take care of me, but like, you know, at that point they are still like trying to be like emotionally honest with one another. It's not just like I wish someone would take care of me and just like looking expectantly at her daughter. Like it feels like just her being vulnerable and opening up. And like I've had similar conversations with my mom who like me and my siblings are all in like spread out around Texas. Yeah. You know, so we're not like not nearly as far as the mother and daughter, but like it's still something where like, you know, I can hear my mom talk about like I miss like getting to see y'all as often and stuff like that, and knowing that that's not coming from a place of like and you must fix this. It's coming from a place of just like that's how I feel. You know.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So really quick question. So because again this brought up some of the readers felt like so do you think their relationship becomes stronger or weaker because of the distance? Again, some of the readers felt like there was, especially in the end, which we'll talk about, there was some awkwardness they felt that came through, like almost like the daughter, again, felt obligated to have these conversations with the mom and seek her out in certain ways. So do you think it actually made their relationship stronger or weaker, you know, when they were Skyping and then when there was that space in between the times they weren't talking? And what do you think about that?
I feel like it's not like, is it one way or the other? I feel like it's going to keep bouncing back and forth between the two, depending on like, I don't know, depending on the time frame, on the instances, because there were some moments I felt like their relationship was stronger, where I felt like the daughter was able to open up parts of herself with her mom that she probably wouldn't have if she still stayed back home. Yeah. But then again, I did feel the kind of that awkwardness in the end as well. Yeah. When they reunited, it's like you do become two different people. Sure. Yeah. And y'all do end up having your own different lives, you know. So
I personally think that it's stronger. I think you're right in terms of saying like it's not necessarily like black or white, like one or the other. I think there are ways that it is weaker because they don't get to have that like physical like space to share with one another. Yeah. But I think that does like it did allow the daughter a lot of ways to like kind of become herself and like figure out kind of like a little bit more of like her identity, things that she wants in her life. And it allowed the mom a lot more opportunities to kind of be like, okay, well, who am I when I'm not a mom? Yeah. You know? Yeah. And by the time that they're visiting, like this hit home really hard as someone in a long distance relationship, getting to go and see one another and getting to just like share that space and trying to like cherish literally every minute, every hour that you have, and the swapping clothes at the end. So they have pieces of, they have pieces of each other with them. Yeah. I think that that's strong relationship. The fact that they were like, yes, this does have to end, And yes, you have to go back where you're going and I have to be here alone, but like we can share pieces of ourselves with one another, and we will always know that this happened and these are times that we got to share with one another. And like it is kind of like the old adage of like distance makes the heart grow fonder a little bit. Like sure, they used to be so close, but like that was when the daughter was her daughter, you know, and like was reliant on her in that way. And now it's kind of like a give and take of like we're both adults and we're both figuring out our life, and it doesn't just have to be a provider and providee relationship anymore. We can be close, not necessarily as friends and nothing else. It's still mother and daughter, but like there's a lot more reciprocation that's able to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like this book is really good at like, I mean, it's just like a standalone story into someone's life. So I feel like there's so many different opinions, like whether you relate to it or whether you're completely far off from it. Cause I was like looking back at the weaker and remembering the conversations we had at Libros. And I'm like, some people felt that the daughter was starting to feel obligated to contact the mother, where she was like, man, I didn't call her today, I'm gonna have to try to call her tomorrow. Like it started it started feeling like a chore almost. So I think that's where people's reactions were pulling from the weaker side of the relationship.
And that's fair too.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those books that truly like you can come back and read later in your life. Let's just say you read it in your 20s, you were in college, or you were 19, 20 years old, you read it, and you might have felt one way about it. Then you say, you know what, I'm going to read it 10 years later. You read it when you're 30, and maybe your perspective has shifted now, right? Maybe you're a mother now, maybe you're a father, whatever it is. I think it's one of those stories that really just resonates at certain times in your life. So, and again, some of the other readers from their personal experiences and biases, like some of the, they talked about how the mom at one point was like, well, next time you need to call me when the snow starts. They felt that was kind of like, okay, calm down. You know what I mean?
I really think that is one of I love books like this. Like it is a book where it's like you can come to it with like criticism or your own analysis of it, but you do have to put some of yourself onto the table in order to do so.
100%. So that's what I'm saying. Like as short as this book was, it sparked some unique conversation around all of this stuff. So, okay. So what do you think the novel is ultimately saying about growing up and leaving home?
I feel like you eventually have to do it. I mean, that's a part of life. You can't stay home forever sometimes. But so I liked the themes that it took, because it took a lot of people thought that she was going to end up having to leave to go back home.
Correct.
And I'm like, sometimes that does happen in people's lives. I've seen it a lot of times, and you know, in my own personal family, people going off to college and then parents get sick and you have to come back home. Unfortunately, that's the case. That's what happens. It's good to go out and grow up and leave home, but sometimes life isn't always perfect that way. You're just kind of the cards you're dealt with, what you're going to do, what you're going to make of it.
Yeah. And I think it really does tie into that kind of like bicultural identity a bit, because like and in America, kind of by and large, it is expected for somebody to go off and kind of like pull themselves up by their bootstraps, go out, seek your
get the American
seek your
dream.
Identity, like go to college straight out of high school. Like there are different ways to approach that journey. There are different ways to approach finding your identity, because the mother also, like, she had never lived alone. She had lived with family. She got pregnant with the daughter. She lived with the daughter and raised her as a single parent. Like, and it's her first time ever being alone whenever the daughter moves out to go to college. So even at that age, and even with as little experience as she had had living alone, it's now the mom's journey to find what her identity is and what her life is. And that's different than the ideal of just like, oh, you're immediately going to college and you're going to, you know, visit your parents maybe like once a month and stuff like that. Like, it really depends on culture. It really depends on circumstance.
True.
And I think this book has a really good way of approaching just like a situation. Like, but it doesn't like say this is like the end all be all. Like, everyone who like any of those international students potentially could have had like a rocky relationship with their family.
True.
And maybe there wouldn't be as so much value placed in like, well, you have to stay in contact with them because maybe that would have been something that they didn't want or something like that. Like, there are all sorts of ways to approach your identity, your individuality, and also your relationship with your family, especially as you're like establishing yourself as an adult. And I think this has a really good like single situation that isn't like necessarily traditional in the way that we think of it.
Yeah. So Laura last night said she felt like leaving, excuse me, like leaving home is like a series of, it's like phases for her. She said it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Doesn't necessarily mean you move back home, but just in terms of always kind of being connected to home in some ways before you ever fully get away from home in that way and you're just on your own. I thought that made a lot of sense too. So, okay. So speaking of that and the distance that we've been talking about, is this story a story more about connection or disconnection? And I think that's important to look at in terms of the daughter, because is she moved, right, for school and stuff. She's connecting with her mom via Skype, but she's also kind of disconnecting from her old life a little bit, and also from her mom, not in a negative way, just she has to kind of grow up and live her life. So what do you think this story is more about, connecting and continuing that connection, or disconnecting a little bit, or a little bit of both?
I feel like a little bit of both. I feel like she was connecting with the mom, but we also see her in instances where she was isolating herself from her friends, being by herself a lot. And I was like, I related to that a lot, because when I first went off to college, it was hard for me to make friends. So I was by myself. I would just kind of hole up in my room and Skype like my best friends and be like talking to them all day instead of going outside and probably trying to seek connection elsewhere. So I feel like, I don't know, it's kind of just give or take, you can't fully stay in one place, but it's nice to go back.
Yeah. I think it's just very much like a story about like finding connection after disconnection is necessary.
Okay.
Like it just approaches the way of like, there was a necessary disconnect that had to happen in distance, in terms of like lifestyle, in terms of like actual like disconnection, and in terms of like the internet's bad,
Sure.
but like trying to disconnect and find your own peace and find that within yourself, and kind of figure out what you can do without someone that you used to be so bonded to, but also like still finding the ways that you are able to connect with that person should you choose. Just like, the disconnect is something that was necessary and happened and was kind of intense for the mom and the daughter, but just like the ways that they kind of work around that situation are important.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with everything y'all said. It's definitely a little bit of both for me. Continuing to connect, but also knowing when to say, you know what, hey, it's okay to also take a step out. And for the mom to accept and realize that, which she did. She knew her daughter was in school, she was working, she was doing this and that. She wasn't like begging her constantly to talk to her. It was just like, hey, this is the time that we set to talk. We're going to talk. And maybe some of the conversations weren't always as lively as she'd like, but that's just life. Some people have bad days, good days, some they're tired. So I thought it was a really good blend of both.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so did the ending feel hopeful, ambiguous, or something else?
I felt like it was hopeful. Like that's, again, there's so much of myself I'm putting on the table with that. I do believe there's going to be a way for them to come together again in the future, maybe even more frequently as like time goes along, who knows? But just like getting to have those little moments where like all is not lost. They're still finding ways to connect with one another. They have daily reminders, like if they're wearing each other's like hair clip or like their clothes, stuff like that. Like just having like little things to get them through the time that they are apart.
Yeah.
And having those calls that like, even though it's not as good as the real thing, and like there's a line in there that I love so much where it's like the daughter is kind of like looking at her mom and wishing like through the screen and being like, I wish there was a way for me to just like look at her when she doesn't know she's being like recorded.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know that she's being like watched through a screen, because there's so much that you lose when you're like, okay, and I'm like looking at you and we're having a call and we're engaging, versus you're just in a room with somebody and you kind of like look at them across the room when they don't know that you're looking, and you're just like, there's so much life there.
Sure.
And I have a good feeling that they'd be able to do it again, like maybe not for super long, maybe not super frequently, but the way that they like fell back together during the reunion near the end of the book, I feel like there's no way that they wouldn't try again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it was hopeful.
Yeah.
Some of the readers last night felt like it was a little bit ambiguous, but I felt like it was hopeful. It didn't end on a bad note at all. They went their separate ways. Of course, mom had to go back to Brazil. She had to stay there and continue going to school. But I feel like there's hope. They're going to continue to meet as much as they can. You know, if you want to be optimistic and think about the daughter's future, maybe she's going to go find a good job, whether she goes back to Brazil or stays there to work. But she'll have the money to help pay for her mom's flight and stuff, right? Because she was talking about saving money the whole book. And now it's like, maybe she'll have a career. She'll be able to say, hey, mom, you know, I'll fly you out. Let's come out here. Let's meet. Let's hang. So I felt hopeful about it. So
yeah, definitely hopeful. Yeah. I forgot about that instance where they were sharing clothes and sharing things with each other. Like you just reminded me of that. And I'm like, oh God, that is so heartwarming and hopeful.
Yeah.
That's something that my partner and I do anytime we visit, like long distance. And like we have this pact, like where we always swap one article of clothing, you know? So like whenever we call later, if like I just see them like wearing my shirt, I get to just be like, oh yeah, I was there, you know?
That's so sweet.
That's awesome. So what were your overall thoughts? Did you like it or dislike it? And would you recommend it?
Honestly, it hit me really hard at some points. Like I genuinely really like it. It's such a short read too. So it's something that like, it's something I have considered like actually like recommending to my mom, especially since like, you know, she is technically like, it's been a while, but like she is technically an empty nester. And like, just kind of like, you know, seeing her thoughts on it and like having that be like a point of discussion and stuff like that. I really, really liked it. It like I might forget that I read it, to be honest, because it was so short, but like I would give it like 8 out of 10. I think it tackles its themes really well.
Yeah.
Same. I would probably give it 9 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10. I really, really liked it. I would definitely recommend it. I feel like Romeo said, you can read it at different points in your lives and probably relate or disrelate to different things in the book. So I feel like it's great. It's really standalone.
Yeah. I didn't think it was, I mean, I don't think it's a perfect book, but I did give it 5 stars on Goodreads when I finished it because I'm like, this was such a simplistic read, but it like we were talking about before we started, like this novel showed that you can do so much with so little.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I thought it was really important. And I also I want to make it clear, like, as humans, we can't diminish how somebody else feels. It doesn't mean that they're right or wrong, that they're perfect or not, or that you're right or wrong, but the mom's feelings were valid too. That's how she felt. She was alone. She was trying to navigate life without her daughter there. So I feel like it's unfair to put the mom in a situation of her like being this bad person. I just think she was experiencing life her way and it hit her. It hurt, right?
Yeah.
Her daughter wasn't there. So certainly would recommend it. I think it's a very important read. I really do. So
yeah. Out of 10?
Yeah. I would say like 9 out of 10. Yeah.
Nice.
So really good.
Very nice.
So what are you all currently reading now?
Currently you go first.
I currently started Alchemized. So the next 20 podcasts, I'll be saying that I'm currently reading Alchemized because it's going to take me, it's like 36 hours. Is the audiobook.
I've seen it's like that.
Yeah, it's huge. But I want to take a crack at it. So I will be reading that for the rest of my lifetime.
Yeah. Romeo?
I am currently I'm halfway through The Beautiful Ones, which is the biography of Prince. So really good. There's a lot of amazing pictures in that one. And then I'm also reading 2 other books. It's a collection of poems. I think it's called like Roses After Winter or something like that. Really good. I'm almost at like 10 pages left. And then I'm currently rereading the Odyssey.
Nice.
Because the movie comes out in July. I reread the Iliad and now I'm going back to the Odyssey. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I am about to visit my partner, and last time we visited, we were reading Howl's Moving Castle together. This time, a little bit more of an undertaking, and we're probably going to carry it on to like video calls and like reading with one another. But we are going to be going through the Percy Jackson books again.
Nice.
By Rick Riordan, obviously, if you didn't know, but like. Again, that's going to be like a endeavor, but I haven't read them since I was in middle school. I'm excited.
Nice.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know Rick Riordan was from San Antonio.
Wait,
I didn't know that.
I mean, fact check me, but I'm positive he's from San Antonio, but he currently lives in Boston, I think. But yeah, San Antonio native.
What?
If you happen to be wrong, then he's honorary.
There you go. We'll call him an honorary San Antonian.
Rick Riordan, you're listening probably to Blue Light Hours.
210.
There you go.
Come visit us. Come be on the podcast. But yeah, Blue Light Hours by Bruna Dantas Lobato is on Cloud Library as an ebook and an audiobook. You can access that with your BiblioTech library card if you're a Bexar County resident or if you're Rick Riordan. And yeah, so I think that just about wraps up our discussion today.
Yeah, really quick, just the next read will be The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. If you want to meet in person, we'll be at Burleson Yard Garden the first Monday of June. If not, you'll catch us the following Tuesday here on this podcast. So.
Yep, that's going to be our Libras and Libations book you said for June?
Correct.
Yes. Yep, very nice. All right. But yeah, with that said, I'm Louie.
I'm Ruby.
And I'm Romeo.
Thanks for watching.